It happened last May on a very nice day, while the elephant Horton was walking, they say. Just minding his business, just going his way, when a Kwuggerbug dropped from a tree with a plunk and landed on Horton the elephant's trunk. The Kwuggerbug leaned towards the elephant's ear. "Perhaps you're wondering," he said, "why I'm here. Well, I've got a secret," he whispered, "I know, of a bezelnut tree where some bezelnuts grow." And there's that Kwuggerbug talking to Horton. Bezelnuts, Horton looked up with wide eyes. Bezelnuts, this was a happy surprise. For of all of the nuts in the jungle to eat, the nut of the bezel was by far the most sweet. "But why," Horton asked, "do you tell this to me?" "Well, you see," the bug answered, "my bezelnut tree is rather far off and I'm not very strong. I'd get there much quicker if you came along. So I'll make you a deal that I think is quite fair. You furnish the legs and you carry me there. I'll furnish the brains, show you the way to the tree. Then half of the nuts are for you, half for me. Hold tight." "Oh, a deal," Horton said with a smile on his face. "Hold tight and we're off to your bezelnut place. Just steer me and show me the best road to take." "No road," laughed the Kwuggerbug. "We'll take the lake." And he steered the big elephant down to the shore of a lake that was 30 miles long, maybe more. "Uh-oh," shivered Horton. "Now wait just a minute. I can't swim that lake. It has crocodiles in it. Just look at their terrible teeth, how they flash. They'll chew me right up into elephant hash. I think, Mr. Bug, that there surely must be a much safer way to your bezelnut tree." Look at there. See those crocodiles? Horton's like, brother, I don't want to do that." Let's see what he does. Now, said the Kwuggerbug, "don't start to squeal. You promised you'd go, and a deal is a deal." Horton thought, "what he says is quite true. A deal is a deal. I must see the deal through." So bravely the elephant dived into that pond, and he swam for the shore far beyond, while crocodiles snapped and attempted to eat his tail and his ears and the soles of his feet. They nipped at his knees and they nabbed at his chin, and he thought, as he fought, that he never would win. But he swam and he swum and he held his trunk high, with the Kwuggerbug on it, quite safe and quite dry. A terrible fellow, that Kwuggerbug guy. Just sat there and bossed him. "You hustle, now hustle. I furnish the brains and you furnish the muscle." So from 10 in the morning till 2:15, poor Horton fought on till he finally got through to the side of the lake where the bezelnuts grew. He crawled from the water, tired, battered, and wet. "Now where," Horton asked, "are those nuts that I get?" "Oh," laughed the Kwuggerbug, "you're not there yet." "Climb that," the bug said, pointing up in the sky at a terrible mountain 9,000 feet high. "Climb that?" Horton gulped. "Not the way that I feel." "Tut, tut," said the bug, "now a deal is a deal. And don't start to argue, no ifs and no buts. You'll furnish the ride and I'll furnish the nuts." He's a bossy little Kwuggerbug. "The climb," sighed poor Horton, "will kill me, no doubt. But a deal is a deal, and I cannot back out." He drew a deep breath and he threw back his shoulders and dragged his tired legs over rocks and big boulders. He stumbled and staggered uphill over stones that tattered his toenails and bruised all his bones, while the Kwuggerbug perched on his trunk all the time, and he kept yelling, "Climb, you dumb elephant, climb!" That's not nice. He climbed, he grew dizzy, his ankles grew numb. But he climbed and he climbed and he clumb and he clumb. His hearing grew faint and his eyesight grew dim. But he clumb and he clumb and he climb and he climb. From 2:15 until 4:45, till finally old Horton, more dead than alive, he carried that bug to the very tip top. And then, only then did the elephant stop. And he gasped to the bug as he sank to his knees, "Now where are my bezelnuts, sir, if you please?" Poor Horton. Look at there. He's having a rough time. "Right there," said the bug. Horton looked. It was true. 'Twas the bezelnut tree where the bezelnuts grew. "But Bug," Horton moaned, "we're here and they're there. Way out on that peak, and between us is air. Now how can I get through that space in between? I can't walk on air, if you see what I mean." A deal is a deal, snapped the bug. I'm the boss. You stretch out your trunk and you put me across. Stretch, Horton, stretch, yelled the bug, so he stretched. He stretched it 2 feet, but it still wouldn't touch. Streech, Horton, streech, yelled the bug, so he streeched. And it hurt him real badly, but finally it reached. At last, sang the Kwuggerbug, chuckling with glee, and he slid down the trunk to his bezelnut tree. And he picked all those nuts, and he stacked a big mound of luscious sweet bezelnuts high on the ground. But hey, called the elephant, you over there. Half of that mine, don't forget, is my share. Not yet, said the bug, all the nuts have been stacked. But before we can share, they have got to be cracked. So he cracked all the nuts, then he said with a laugh, a deal is a deal, and I'm giving you half. 1/2 of each nut, as you know, is the meat, and that is the half I am keeping to eat. But half of each nut, as you know very well, is the half of the nut that is known as a shell. The shells are for you, laughed the bug, and he rose, and he stuffed all the shucks up the elephant's nose. Now what would you do if he did that to you? Would shuck up your nostrils how dreadful you'd feel, but you couldn't complain 'cause a deal is a deal. You'd have to act terribly nice and do right, so you'd say in a voice that was very polite, thanks, Mr. Kwuggerbug, thank you for these. But they tickle my nose, so look out, I shall sneeze. And you'd sneeze, and you'd sneeze, and you'd sniz, and you'd sniz, and blow all of the shucks from your trunk with a whiz. Just the way Horton did, 'cause they blew out of his. And they blasted that Kwuggerbug so far away that he sailed through the air for the whole month of May, and didn't come down to the 15th of June, all tattered and torn in the late afternoon, at a place that's so far, now he never can go to his bezelnut tree, where his bezelnuts grow.